Hi, Dr. Rob.
Good evening, Tammy. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm going to start with telling you, so in the chat feature, there is a question, and I think this person was probably on earlier today. I
Okay.
shared, I'm sharing this now because it's my recovery birthday. And so I shared my coin earlier today, which I swear my cat has, I don't know where she put it right now, but I'm going to find it. But anyway, so the question in the chat was, does feeling shit all the time go away with recovery? How do you feel now after many years of recovery? I feel gratitude. I don't live in the shit feeling all the time. I have shitty moments. I have moments where I'm going like, well, this kind of sucks, but I'm able to balance that it's a moment. And I have a longer path of seeing that most hours of most days, I can find things to be grateful for, that I'm alive and I'm not doing things that I did in my active addiction. So I just wanted to answer that. So yes, it gets better. It doesn't get better overnight, but I continue to do the things that will help me to continue to grow in recovery even after this recovery birthday. So I just have today. So thanks.
Happy birthday, Tammy.
Thank you.
How many years
Oh,
sober do you have?
39.
Wow, you barely look 39.
I know. That's the
Okay,
joys
wait,
of
we have to work
recovery.
here. We have work to
Yeah,
do.
I know.
Let me say something about your the chat and what you just talked about briefly. May I just say something
Yes,
about
yeah.
that? I also want to say that, as a therapist, you shouldn't feel like shit forever. It's feeling badly related to situations that are going on in your life is appropriate. Feel badly in the first couple of months of recovery of who you hurt and the time you've lost and what your life has been, whether you're a partner or an addict. But if you're at 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 months in and you're still feeling awful, then that might be a sign of depression. Because part of what drug and alcohol use and sexual behavior acting out can mask is depression. And some of us who've been through the ringer when we were younger, hanging in there with those addictions, we were doing pretty good. And then when the addictions were gone, we got in touch with feelings that were harder than we knew how to handle. And the brain can only take so much. You can only be so sad for so long. And then at a certain point, your ability to feel good actually shuts down and you become depressed. So I would just point that piece out. I'm not advocating medication or, I'm not your therapist, but I think it's always, life should be just a little bit better than boring most days, just a little better than boring. I know Tammy's life is mostly better than boring most days. So anyway.
And that is true. And then a follow-up was, what does gratitude mean? When I was in treatment, I did have the ability to go to treatment, and I'm so incredibly grateful because that gave me so many tools to use. And I think, could I eventually have gotten, stuff? Probably, but I'm not sure. Like I really think I would have relapsed had I not gone to treatment. So that's just me. But what does gratitude mean? While I was in treatment, my therapist made me write a gratitude list. I had to think of 3 things I was grateful for, and whether it was my family, the sunshine for the day, that I had clothes, that I wasn't dead. I don't, it was a variety of things, but I had to think of 3 things every day that I was grateful for. And I did find for me that if I was actively in gratitude, I couldn't be feeling sorry for myself. So that actually was a huge insight for me, because otherwise I wanted to feel sorry for myself that I was, in treatment and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, all right, enough about me. So next question. My husband has been involved with porn for 35 years, unknown to me when we got married 20 plus years ago. I just found this out 3 months ago. He is going to counseling, attending Celebrate Recovery once per week and an SAA meeting once a week, which I believe he is lying to me attending this. My question is, ever since he came out, he has avoided me like the plague. We have never really been sexual since we were married, maybe twice per month, but now there is no sex, no touching, no hand holding, no snuggling, nothing. I am avoided like the plague, and I do not understand this. Can you help explain this so as to why he would be doing this, I've told him numerous times that I do not feel loved even before I found out about the porn, but now it's worse than before. I feel as though I am a roommate. We barely speak. When I tell him I feel unloved, he tells me that I am playing mind games with him and never validates how I feel. Am I fooling myself that there is hope for my marriage?
Wow. Well, I don't know you guys, so I would never want to say, you know, that you are, how far along you are in the integrity of your marriage. But, you know, there are things you haven't said. For example, you said your husband was involved with porn, but what does that mean? If someone looked at porn 3 times a week and masturbated a couple of times a week and they just didn't tell you because they were shamed or they were afraid you'd be mad at them, you know, that's very different than someone who's compulsively masturbating to porn, very frequently disappears into it, looks at it at work, and you lose the intimacy that you once had in your relationship. So, you know, there are a variety of factors there. I don't think that the first, I'm not sure, Tammy, how long this person said that they've been working on it. 3 months. So
3 months,
you are this is so early, and I'm so sorry for that. But I think you're on the beginning of what we call a roller coaster of pain that can last for a while. And actually, Tam, I want to say to you that I had a wonderful podcast with Michelle Mays this week. And for those of you who don't know, I do a really excellent podcast called Sex, Love, and Addiction. And we talk about all the stuff that we talk about here. And one of the things that I talked with Michelle Mays is a therapist in another part of the country. And she brought up a concept about partners that I'd never really thought of. And I'm not going to say it right the way she would have said it, but I'll leave you to listen to the podcast. But what she talked about was that when we find out that we have been betrayed by a partner, we don't hate them and we don't love them. We become ambivalent. And that ambivalent love is very, very difficult for us to sit in as a partner and for the person who's hurt us to sit in, because one day we love them and we think they're wonderful and we can't wait to spend time with them. And we think everything's going to get better. And that's when we're in the loving, connected end of the ambivalence. You know, maybe there's hope here. Maybe what we had before meant something. And then some other day you're in the other end of the ambivalence, which is I can't stand him, ruin my life. I don't know if we can stay together. But in either case, it's kind of this is the roller coaster, the up and down, the should I be, is there something here? Is there not? Do I care? And I want to say that, Tammy, to you and to the group, because I thought that she actually kind of identified the point that partners pivot on that leads to that up and down, up and down, up and down. I mean, it's not just ambivalence about you, it's about, that's my hungry dog. I'm so sorry. Dozer, you have to wait for supper. I'm not going to feed you. Well, let me see if I can. Dozer, let's see if you.
Can't you pick him up just like I picked up Kaya?
No.
I know.
He's 90 pounds.
I know. I've seen Dozer, so yeah.
All right. Anyway, so what I want to say to you is 3 months is very early. And I would suggest that you maybe drop in one of the support groups that we have. They're free. Just find some other women who have been betrayed. We have a group of women, and Tammy's going to put in the chat for you now, who have been married 20 or more years, whose kids are grown and gone, who meet every week to talk about and hold each other accountable to the process of their healing. And we don't get paid for that. We don't charge for that. It's just a space we keep open for these women to work. And you are just the right age and just the right experience, but you are the person with the least amount of betrayal experience in that room. There are going to be women who were betrayed a year ago, 3 years ago, 20 years ago. And so I think by joining that kind of an environment, just listening to those women have to say and getting their support, you'll begin to get your land legs. I do think it's too soon to make any kind of decisions about what does our relationship mean? What is he hearing or not hearing? If you want clarity, go to couples therapy. And we can certainly encourage you to find somebody. But if you want clarity on where you are with him, go to therapy and that'll get shown to you. But it doesn't really mean much in the sense that it's too soon to figure anything out, how committed he is, how far your anger is going to go. I mean, it's just too soon. You're in the muck and you're going to be in the muck for a while. Welcome to your new normal. I'm so sorry.
But it can get better. Here's what I picked up on is he's going to counseling, but you didn't identify, and it's fine if he's going to a qualified therapist, because most therapists are generalists and don't have training in this. This is a specialized field. So having the right help and going to one meeting per week, a Celebrate Recovery, and an SAA meeting once a week, and you think he's lying about that. But if he, and I don't know if he was looking at porn 3 times a week, that's different. But if he was looking at porn every day for multiple hours a day, he's got a whole lot of time that he was formerly using porn that he now needs to replace with something, in my world, positive and recovery. So to me, it doesn't feel like he's doing enough. My experience as an addict is that, like, I couldn't handle life. I couldn't handle feelings. I couldn't handle all of that. So I used my acting out behavior. And so now all of a sudden, if he stopped using the acting out behavior, but he isn't doing enough and doesn't have enough tools to be able to handle life. And if addiction is an intimacy disorder, an attachment disorder, oh my gosh, and now you're looking to be intimate and attached, he's got to be terrified. And so it's uncomfortable for him, and he's not able to give you what you're needing. And so, like, more shame and guilt and whatever. So it's really complicated. I don't know what level of therapy he's actually getting. He may need a higher level of help. And like Dr. Rob said, if you want names of qualified people or want to look at, a 3-day workshop for him, with Seeking Integrity, reach out to me and I'm happy to help. Or even the couples workshop in December could be useful.
I need to make a quick comment. Some people might have seen me looking a little strange down here where you were talking. That's because I have to say my dog brought his box of toys over to my feet and knocked the toy box over. Like, how can you not pick up a toy, So I did. So I was kind of tugging.
Less than subtle. Thank you, Dozer. You made clear this is what we're going to do now. So.
Well, but this is what we all need to do. We need to understand what our needs are and attempt to get them met.
Yeah. Smart Dozer. Okay. Is it common for people who experience childhood sexual abuse to go through long periods of sexual anorexia?
So let me just define the term. I'm not a big believer in that term because I think the word anorexia really belongs to the eating disorder world. So the question you're asking, though, is can people who have sexual abuse histories become what we call hyposexual, meaning they avoid sexuality or sexually avoidant? And I absolutely do think that not only do we, but it's very frequent. And it's really the same spectrum of emotional challenges that the sex addicts have. They are constantly avoiding intimacy and attempting to fill themselves up with empty experiences because the real one is too scary. And the real love or relationship experience is too scary, even if they have one. So they will be in their relationship as much as they feel they can tolerate the emotions and the connection, and then they'll run to their addiction to try to get the rest of what we need in relationships. But you can't really get it through empty sex. So it's really the same for the survivor. We will compulsively or repeatedly avoid sexual behavior, sexual activity, romantic activity, because it feels much safer than going out there and getting back in touch with some of the ways we were hurt. Because if you're an abuse survivor of, sexual relationship, and then you're attempting to have a relationship and you want to be sexual with someone, there's no way that your issues aren't going to come up. So I don't think the answer is to avoid. I talk about this a lot I talk about this a little bit on the podcast. I haven't written a lot about this, but what I want to say to you is this, that the answer to even if you have no desire, no interest at all to date or have a relationship or be sexual, I think it's important that you push the lever on more outreach toward your healing. You want to be in therapy. You want to be in a support group. You can go to Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous and talk about sexual avoidance because you have the same issue as the woman who acts out all over the place. Both of you are terrified of intimacy. You just act it out in different ways. Ultimately, you both have the same goals: to find healthy, intimate, relational sexuality. And Tammy, I went to a conference this week, and I was really glad I did because I heard one of the best speakers I've ever heard. I heard an 82-year-old author who's written 12 books on therapy, and probably is the person from whom a lot of people like Tatkin and all those people get their ideas. And so that was amazing. But I really, in listening, so I'm just blathing to Tammy here, but what I want to say to you guys is I was reminded in listening to someone who's been really researching the field of human relationships for 25, 30 years, like more. He was working in the 60s. He's been really researching. He's written 10 books, and good books, serious books. in listening to him, this 82-year-old man who spent his lifetime studying human relationships from infancy to adulthood. It was just made clear to me all the more how important it is for us to connect and be connected, to be in relationship on any level and on every level. And it also reminded me of how meaningful our early caregiver connections are. You know, a lot of the crazy behavior that I acted out as an active sex addict probably came from me and my mom when I was about 3. And, you know, I'm reminded of how sad it is on some level, or I guess I want to say, maybe it's useful that we don't remember what happened to us before we were 5 or 6, but people like us, people have intimacy disorders, relationship disorders, eating disorders. We had challenges early in life before we can remember. And for that matter, maybe our caregivers became better people by the time we were 7 or 8 and could remember. So many of us would say I had a great upbringing, but trust me, if you have these issues, something happened and something bad happened, and it happened early. It's not that we can't survive and grow beyond them, but we do need a lot of support, and isolation is our worst enemy. I can certainly tell you. So I'm so glad you're here. Welcome here. And, you know, please keep reaching out. You're not anorexic by coming here. You're showing up strong.
So the next question, Dr. Rob, what do you want to see as a committed recovery program for us sex addicts that are wanting to recover as well as save our marriage?
So Tammy, you're going to help me with this one. When this person says we're committed recovery program, let me just talk to Tammy for a second. To you, in my mind, that's kind of like different for everybody a little bit, because some people need a little more of this and some people need more of that, and everybody needs a little bit of various things. So I can talk about what's needed, but I'm not sure I can talk about how much. You absolutely need, so I think a good recovery program involves having a posse, what I call having a posse, that you have developed 2 or 3 guys or a couple of women that you regularly reach out to. And I'm talking about 2-3 times a week. And you see these people at meetings, you go to lunch and coffee with them, you are not sexually attracted to them, and you are constantly engaging in discussions about your past, your history, your relationship, your step work, whatever that is. I think the most important thing that we can have is a community of other people who are committed to healing. And by the way, I know every addict knows that the people who we can bullshit and the people who we can't. You know, I've had so many clients, well, I won't say so many, but I've certainly had clients in the past when we were going to do a disclosure with a partner, and they were all ready to go, and they'd go to a meeting, and someone would get 5 guys to say, oh, well, disclosure, that would be against the steps. That would be causing harm to someone you're making an apology to. It. You know, it's just like, I know that I can pretty much get anybody to buy off on anything if I sell it good enough. So the people I'm talking about are the people who see through your bullshit. They're not angry at you. They're not upset with you like your partners are, like your spouses are, but you can't turn to them in the middle of the night. This is the level I'm talking about, and say, I need to come hang out at your house because my wife is so angry she doesn't want me here tonight. And that's the kind of friendships you need. And, you know, therapy really, really helps with the right therapist, both for you individually and for you and your partner and for you as a couple. The more, the merrier. You know, there isn't I'm just thinking about when I went through college and I graduated, I have this thing, transcript, that's what it is, of what I got in every course, you know, and I understand that you kind of want the transcript for how do you negotiate recovery, and, you know, it is individual for each of you. I can tell you this though, here's a really good, simple measure of recovery. God, I hadn't really thought about this in this way before. If recovery is about integration, being one person with no big secrets that anybody, you know, not that everybody knows everything about you, but, you know, you don't have any secrets from anyone. And if someone knew you were doing something, it wouldn't be terribly surprising, you know, and considering that keeping secrets from your partner or people you love is lying by omission. Under those circumstances where keeping secrets is lying, how often are you telling a lie every day? Or every week, because I kind of judge recovery not only on my sexual acting out or not, and not only on the number of meetings I go to, but how honest am I being? How much integrity do I have? How much am I trying to sell this to one person and show up for that as another person? It's a lot about being real. And I think if you're lying to your spouse or you're minimizing, you know, that's the amount of recovery you need to get through. So on a very simple, I mean, Ooh, Tammy, you're disappearing.
That's because my cat's fur just covered the camera.
Oh, that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very weird. But anyway, I'm being vague because there is no right answer. If I was working with you and we knew each other, and I knew all about your history and all about what you struggle with and all about what you did well with and didn't, then we could talk about what would work for you. But when you say for us guys in this community, I can't answer that question because each one of you guys has different needs. I do know that if you're not acting out and you're telling the truth more often than not, and if you're not going back and then admitting that you didn't, you're on the right road. That I know.
Yeah, and I was thinking, the committed recovery program, I said a little bit ago, if I've got all this free time because I'm not engaged in planning, acting out, thinking about acting out, all of that time, if I'm showing up for recovery in that way, if I'm making, for me, 12-step is really important to me. So if I'm showing up, doing my step work, I'm going to meetings, I've got a sponsor, I'm doing there's a number of things that I know lots of people that have warm seats in 12-step meetings. So it isn't just about going to the meetings, it's about doing the stuff, And so, I think Rob's book, Out of the Doghouse, is a really good helper for navigating how to rebuild trust for a relationship. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take time, and it's going to be you consistently showing up and doing what you say you're going to do, including take out the trash or whatever it is. If you say you're going to be home at 5:30 and you see it's going to be 5:35, it's calling and saying, I'm running 5 minutes late because traffic on the whatever is, it's just being accountable
To that person.
Yeah. And I loved what Dr. Rob was talking about too, the integrity within yourself, the congruency, that there aren't these components of myself where, well, this component can't know about that component. It's like I'm congruent, and I'm congruent in all areas of my life. I have honesty. I don't lie in this area and tell the truth over there and then say, well, I'm mostly honest, like that's really important for me. So it's a journey, it's a path. And my experience is if you do what you need to do on a daily basis, that's visible to other people, and they start believing, that it is. The other person just shared a little bit ago, I think he's lying about going to meetings. She doesn't believe him yet. So there's a lot more work to do for him.
I wanted to say something because you mentioned Out of the Doghouse, Tammy, and I don't do this to sell books. Guys, I get about 12 cents for every book I sell, so feel free, buy a whole bunch. You have a publisher and see how it goes. Seriously though, I did this thing so I did an 1.5-hour webinar with a group of therapy group in Australia on Sunday, I think it was, yesterday. And there were about 18 people in the group, and I did a little bit of talking about relationship healing and all of that. And then one of the men raised his hand and he said something about, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm working really hard, but I just can't see, am I ever going to get forgiven? Or, what is the deal? She seems so angry all the time. And there was this clear issue for this man that he could not get his wife to forgive him. He could not get her to stop being angry. And, it had been like 8 or 9 months. And so I said to him that he should get out of the doghouse and he should get it right away. And the only reason I say that is because I wrote this book for men because I don't think we particularly understand how to heal betrayal in a woman, period. No less, the kinds of stuff that happens with sex addicts. Anyway, the reason I tell you this is because I told him it would kick his butt. And I got to tell you, he wrote me back. He said he got the ebook and he said, okay, so I am in a position with my recovery, he wrote me, where I just do what I'm told. So you said, get the book. I got the book. You said, read the book. I read the book. And he said, and I stayed up all night and cried. He wrote me this. He said, because I, for the first time, really realized what I had cost my family and what I had cost the people I love the most. And I thought I was kind of like, doing the right stuff and getting the right message, but I didn't really deep down in here understand. And not understanding that allows a man to be annoyed when he sees that angry face in the evening, or when she's doing this, or, and it's like, wait a minute. I think there's good reasons for that. And this person gets to be hurt and angry for a while. It's just that we don't always fully understand the depth of their pain or what we've caused them. So, by the way, Tammy, a woman in that group said to me, what do men think What do you think men go through when they get betrayed? Doesn't a man think that, you know, if he betrays a woman, she's going to go through the same thing? What do you guys go through? It's an interesting question because it is a little different for us. Now, we're on a bell curve, right? So when I talk about what's typical, it's not everybody. But in general, you know, a woman will perceive sexual betrayal as a betrayal of the entire family, of her home, of her whole existence, of everything they've ever had and ever done. And a man is much more typically able to say, that was just a blowjob in Vegas. It didn't mean anything to me, and it really didn't mean anything to him. And, you know, thus the difference between the sexes. By the way, Tammy, I figured out the answer to the problem between the sexes yesterday. Do you want to know what it is?
I think it'd be fascinating.
I think I really know, because I went to this conference, and this is the problem so here's the deal. This is the problem between the sexes. Anybody doesn't agree, let me know. Men are who they are, and women want us to be different. And that is the issue forever. That's the issue forever. Men are who they are, and women wish we were, to any degree, just a little bit or a whole lot, depending on the person, different. It seems difficult for you ladies to tolerate us as we are. And I'm not talking about cheating and lying, and I'm not talking about all that stuff. I'm simply talking about there always seems to be a man seems to be an improvement project for a woman. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, I'll let it go. What are you thinking, Tammy?
Well, because I'm laughing because I'm thinking I know enough men who want to control their women and make them dress a certain way, look a certain way, da 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 da. So I'm not 100%, but it's an interesting theory. So
well, I would say those men don't see their women at all. They just see them as objects and a reflection of themselves, right?
And that could be. So we have more questions. So I'm gonna.
Okay, question. Sorry, no opinions.
Is therapeutic disclosure always necessary? I'm afraid I will never be able to come back from the things that I hear as part of disclosure, even if I don't remain in the relationship. I'm already severely traumatized, have obsessive thoughts, and am triggered by things I've made up in my head. Never mind those I actually know factually. It would be interesting to know if any relationships that you know of have flourished without this. I'm unsure if this is something that would be good for my mental health.
Absolutely. First of all, disclosure is not required. You know, every spouse demands it, but it's not, most spouses demand it, but it's not required. I've worked with, over the years, many people who had, for example, I've worked with women who had very strong spiritual beliefs. They were in a particular religion, and they felt that if they heard certain things, it was going to mean that they might have to leave their spouse. And they didn't believe in leaving their spouse, so they didn't want to know. I've worked with other people who were pregnant or emotionally vulnerable, and they said, look, as long as we're moving the band into recovery and have the general idea, I don't want to know anymore. But what I do want is this person to be honest with me and clear going forward. And, you know, I don't think that you have to put yourself through the ringer by any stretch of the imagination. I will say that if you're obsessing a lot, you know, you may want to know the depth. Like, you know, some people, like if you find yourself obsessing, did he fall in love with someone? Did he have an affair? Was it romantic when it was more casual for your spouse? That might be something you'd want to know, because that might be meaningful to you. You know, did you get romantically involved with someone? That's significant. But, you know, was it a lap dance? Was it this? Was it that? How many times? Yeah, a lot of spouses want to know, but it is not at all required. And your mental health and your emotional stability is much more important. So I'm really glad you asked that question, because I never even knew we got to the point where every spouse thought they had to go through this. It is an option for every spouse. It's not a demand. It is a demand. It is a demand for the person who's betrayed you.
And I hope you're getting support from a qualified therapist, because like the trauma triggers, there are some methods such as, you know, EMDR that might be able to help you with those particular issues. It won't take away everything, but there may be something that helps calm it down a little bit. So if you don't have the name of a qualified therapist in your area, please do reach out. Okay, I have been on my recovery for 1 month from porn sex addiction. The webinar helps me so much on my recovery. Thank you. I just want to say thank you first. My question is, during my recovery, I'm frequently confused about my sexuality. I'm a straight guy, but I had sex with men when I was acting out. I don't care if I'm gay or not, but the confusion is just so big that makes me think about my sexuality frequently. Dr. Weiss has once said to be patient and try to overcome the addiction first, and everything else will come together. I'm trying my best, but I'm wondering how long I can stop those confused thoughts.
Well, I think this is something to talk to someone about. I mean, especially if you stopped acting out, what happens when we first stop, and congratulations for both being here and for stopping.
Yes.
And you are the most important person here because you got a month, and
Yeah.
I admire that. So here's the deal. When you stop, all of your feelings are going to be heightened. And of course, this question has been in your mind probably for a long time, but right now that you're not acting out, because the acting out serves a purpose, and that is to calm you down, distract you, help you escape emotionally. Now you're not only stuck with this question, you're also stuck with all the emotions around it that you can't, or are choosing not to escape to porn for, which is a good thing.
Great, yes.
So it's very much to be expected for anyone in recovery that whatever has been sort of bubbling under the surface for you emotionally, the next thing for you to look at, but you haven't been because you've been acting out, well, there it is. So what a great time for you to read up on bisexuality, learn more about gay, straight, all that stuff, go to some groups, get a therapist, and, start sorting it out. I understand it feels like a crisis, but I think this will pass. You will figure out who you are and what's important to you. And I don't want to go into the guidelines of how to figure that out here, because I don't think that's necessarily for everybody. But trust me, your path has been unclear because you kept it unclear because of your acting out. And I think to expect that the answer is going to show up in a month is addict thinking. It's like, well, I stopped acting out, so it's been a month. Can I have all the answers to my life? And I'm not trying to dismiss what you're saying, but I am saying that you need to be more patient, a lot more patient, because and I do get this sense just from your question, could be me, wow, if I figure this out, maybe I won't be an addict anymore. Or maybe if I figure this out, all the addiction will go. And believe me, no matter who you or what you're attracted to, that part of you doesn't go away. So best for you to flex that muscle and keep it strong while you're beginning to learn about and explore yourself. By the way, this is a good time out to not be sexual for a while, so you don't have to worry about it because you don't have to go have sex with anybody or look at any porn. So what a great time to have a time out to learn more about yourself. And I would see it as a gift, not a curse.
I just put a link to the TCA professionals. They are sexologists as well as trained in sex addiction. So they may be a really good resource. So I put a link to finding a professional in the chat. Feel free to take a look at that.
I don't know where this person lives in LA. There's a place called the Gender Center, or the LA Gender Center. And they work on people on the gender spectrum, but also on the orientation spectrum. And there often are clinics in major cities that deal with gender and orientation and can really help you figure that out. And you don't have to do it alone. So,
and there's some good podcasts on our site. I already put a link about that. So take a listen to those. Okay, so next question. How often do you think an addict needs to attend SLAA to maintain sobriety? Do you think these meetings will help him stay sober or make things worse because he is surrounded by others who are not as far along as he is in the recovery process? The stories he hears saddens him, and we hope that it is not a cause for him to relapse.
Is this a spouse or a partner, do you think?
It sounds like a spouse or partner that is asking, because it's like, we hope that it doesn't make him act out.
Well, one thing is I kind of wish your husband or wife were on the person who's going to meetings, because I think it's important that they not bring back other people's stories to you. One of the significant traditions of 12-step recovery is that we don't talk about other people or their experiences to anyone. And that's what makes it a safe place. And I'm not saying that you don't have a right to hear those stories, but they're not his to tell. And they can produce other issues, because now you're thinking, oh, this person is this and this person is that. And of course, you're only getting his interpretation of what he heard them say and not who they are. So that can also be scary for you. Why is he going to meetings with all these weird people? I can tell you my own experience. I started in sexual recovery in 1985, 95, 05, 15. That was 34 years ago. It was the single greatest decision I ever made, was to commit myself to a place where people like me were struggling with things like I was. And even more so today, because I think there are a lot more tools and a lot more support, and there's a lot more recovery, a lot more solid time in those rooms. And I also think that, by the way, and I want you to hear this, that the person who's just out of the box, who doesn't have as much time, your husband, he or she is really valuable, because that person is going to tell the story of where your husband might slip up. And, oh, I could have done that. That could have been me. Or he may sit there in a non-judgmental way and see where he was a month ago, or see where he was 3 months ago. And then hopefully he's going to stick out his hand, your husband is, to that newcomer and say, how can I help you? because it won't be triggering to him. He's already told you it makes him sad. He has compassion for these other men. That is a brilliant thing. And that will lead to, in part, to a long-term recovery if he turns that compassion into being active in helping other people once he gets some time himself. So no, I can't think of more reasons to go.
And I'm sitting here on my recovery birthday going, I wouldn't be sitting here on my recovery birthday if I didn't have the 12-step program to support me. And what I kind of question the meetings because if they're just talking about their acting out behavior, that'd be like going to an AA meeting and everybody talking about, yeah, and that, alcohol tasted so great. And that's not what we talk about. We talk about gratitude. We talk about what's going on for us or a situation, but we aren't reliving.
But and Tammy, I just wouldn't question the meeting because this gentleman's a newcomer. So I would say it's more what he's hearing and what he's bringing home. I'm sure there's plenty of recovery being talked about. I don't know that he's connecting with that part.
And thank you. That's probably a really good lens to look at that from. So, but just going to SLA meetings or going once a week isn't going to be enough to make a significant change. They have a big book. It's about that. It's getting a sponsor. All the things that
and online meetings.
Yeah.
There's SAA online. There's there's all kinds of meetings online. It doesn't have to leave. Some spouses feel. Now my dog has found squeaky toys because he thinks if he tries those, I'll pay attention. I think it's I'm sorry, I don't even know what I was just saying, but go ahead.
The online meetings, but so you said some spouses think it's dangerous probably to go out.
Oh, I think some spouses think like, oh, well, he went out in the night. Who knows what he's really out there doing? And I do think a couple of live meetings a week are really important because you need to have that very personal, you need to get those hugs from those other peers and get that support. On the other hand, there's nothing wrong with a couple of meetings at home or there are meetings at noon. He can go during work. There are meetings in the evening, late at night, 24/7, there's a meeting somewhere. So, there's no reason. And it will, by the way, one more thing to you spouses. I think over time, it should be reassuring to you that he's going to these meetings, that he is taking the time that I'm sure he would rather be home watching TV or doing something fun, playing with you or the kids or whatever it is. But he's stuck having to go to these meetings. I'm sure he isn't all that thrilled about it. So I would just encourage him to go to more.
And the live drop-in meetings on sexandrelationshiphealing.com, that's like this, only, they can see each other versus being, just in the anonymous side. So there's lots of options. And I hope he or she continues. So the next question, will you please talk more about what disorganized attachment in SLA looks like? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can talk about disorganized attachment, and I didn't mean to bring up all of that therapy gobbledygook. I simply meant to say that I think there is a platform on which a partner stands once they have had some kind of discovery of the betrayal. They're no longer on solid land. They're kind of on a platform, and that platform leans this way, which is I love you, I want to save things, I think maybe we can work this out. Maybe you're the good guy I always knew. And then it leans this way. I hate you. You ruined my life. And neither one of those really mean a whole lot, but you're going to bounce back and forth from reaching toward the attachment with your spouse and then pushing it away. And the word I used was ambivalent because you're really not sure, nor would most spouses be in the beginning, whether you truly want to be with this person. And it's also especially hard for spouses because if you've had a decent relationship or thought you did, this was the person you turned to when you were in pain. And what could be more painful than what you're dealing with now? Only the person you're used to turning to is the person who hurt you. And again, there's the ambivalence. You have to turn to others, and that's not fun. But that's the name of this game.
Okay. So the next question is, if someone you love has betrayed you, continues to lie, and keeps things from their addiction to sex or love, is there hope? My partner refuses to see he has a problem and has minimized his affair and relationships with other women. I have stopped talking to him, yet he continues to reach out and says he needs me.
So let me read this. I want to read this really carefully. So here's, I think, how I would answer that question. If you wrote me and you said, bring this down one more time. If someone, I'm going to reinterpret your question. If someone you love hits you, continues to slap you around, and then hides the reasons for his rage from you, is there hope? My partner refuses to see he has a problem when he's hitting me, and he minimized the fact that he does hit me and my bruisers, and that he knocked me unconscious one day. I've stopped talking to him. I just want you to hear that part after what I just said. I've stopped talking to him. Yet he continues to reach out and say he needs me. So tell me why, I'm going to put this on you. Why do you think I made such a strong statement as to switch it from he's betraying, he's lying, and he's cheating? What, should I still stay in touch to he's hitting me? I mean, if you don't know, that's fine. I'll put a spin.
No, well, I'm thinking it's because when it's an obvious he's hitting me, people are a lot more able to recognize he's actually hurting you, right, versus he's hurting you.
Right. She's absolutely right. So what I was saying, and I'm glad that Tammy got that because I figure you got it, is that, if the man were slapping you across the face, you'd call the police, you'd run, you'd go to a shelter, you'd get help, you'd do something very profound. But somehow he's crunching your soul and your ego and who you are with his behavior, lying and cheating, and somehow the best you've come up with is I'm going to stop talking to him. And so I put that on you. It doesn't seem like a very profound response to what you're going through. And what it makes me think about is that you're not fully taking in the amount of pain or the amount of damage that's being done to you. The question, I think, is why would I ever want to talk to someone who's lying, cheating, betraying, and doesn't want to look at their problem? And how quickly can I get that person out of my life fully so that I can move on to be engaged with someone who is kind, generous, and honest? Because everybody, you deserve that. And if this man hasn't figured it out by now, it's, I definitely think just stopping talking to him is not quite it. He's not getting the message. I'm not sure why you're in his life.
Yeah, but to go, is there hope? Absolutely. People who get recovery go from acting like that to having life different. So, but when he's refusing to see as a problem, he's minimized everything. He's in complete denial and justification.
Get luggage.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a female recovering addict, 19 months, NA clean, yay. So before going into recovery, I was convinced I was a sex goddess. Since I've been in a relationship or been in recovery, I completely lost my libido. I've been in a relationship for 1 year and 2 months, out of which most of the time I've had sex to keep the relationship together. When I shared this in the rooms with Rob, he advised me to go really slow. I'm feeling really frustrated with myself sexually because I have no desire. What does it mean to go slow? My partner asked me what I like, and I'm in this huge identity crisis, afraid of triggering my addictive behavior, so I don't even know what I like. Any advice?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure how you interpreted go slow. When I say go slow, I mean back rubs, hand holding. You say you don't have a desire for sex. So my response to that is, do you have a desire for affection? Could you be warm with each other and sensual with each other without being without involving genitals, because, and I think I might have, so that's something that I wonder about, because there's a difference between not wanting to be sexual and not wanting to be close. But I'll just say what I say, this is not an unusual issue, that someone who really loved being sexual when they were using was like, a sex goddess or god, could do anything, but they were loaded, and then they're no longer getting loaded, and they are sexually avoiding. And, to me, that speaks something about your history. There's something there that you might have to look at, and it probably doesn't have anything to do with your husband or spouse or whoever it is you're talking about. You used for a reason, and there are things that you have been able to avoid by using, and now you're not using anymore, and whatever those things are, you're going to have to take a look at them, because healthy people don't simply love sex when they're loaded and avoid sex when they're sober. They might love sex when they're loaded and be thoughtful about sex when they're sober, but they don't no longer desire it, people who shut down like that, who so enjoyed sex when they're high, those issues really belong with a therapist, and probably someone who deals with trauma.
So the continuation is the best sex I've had was chem sex. Before recovery, I was very promiscuous. I had a
Yeah,
very hard time associating sex with love. To me, it's very linked to my disease. So,
right. So the disengagement of sex from love to that degree, I mean, when you're 19 and you're looking to get laid, you might disengage sex from love, but the consistent disengagement, sex and love, that compartmentalizing those two is signs of abuse and early emotional challenges, and I would go see a therapist.
so continuation from the sad at the meetings. Thank you. No, my husband never shares stories from others at SLAA, and he totally
Good.
respects his privacy. I just noticed that he is sad when he comes back from the meetings sometimes, and I do not want him to go backwards in recovery. But you
Oh,
answered.
no, 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 no.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's
yeah,
great that he's sad when he comes
yeah,
back from meetings. Hallelujah.
yeah.
He is a feeling person who is getting in touch with his own emotions, connecting with other people. His emotionality is not a sign of illness, it's a sign of health. You don't want him shut down. You want him emotionally engaged. And if he comes back to you and says, I feel so sad, respectfully, about what I heard and said at this meeting, and every time I go, it makes me feel awful, that's great. That means he's getting in touch with a lot of things that he's avoided for a long time. And I would absolutely encourage that. I think if he finds the sadness to be more difficult or he doesn't have an outlet for it, that's what therapy's for, to deal with the sadness that comes up. And by the way, we go to meetings, Tam and I don't talk about this much, but meetings are for more, the 12-step programs, if you choose to go into them, or group therapy is another way of thinking about it, is for more than just following some path that has worked for other people. It really is about building a community of people who are healing from abuse and very similar forms of abuse to you. You will resonate with them emotionally, you will resonate with them in terms of the facts of their lives, and it is in those kinds of communities, those kinds of connections that we heal when we are with like people who have struggled as we have. So we're not just recommending it, I want to say, out of, oh, go to one of those programs and they'll teach you how to walk in the light. It's also, you're going to be deeply connecting with people who understand your pain. And your husband has a lot of pain. And maybe for the first time, instead of acting out with porn and sex, he's walking into those rooms and feeling his own pain. And so I think that he can't go to enough meetings as long as he's stable and has emotional support.
Yeah, and I agree. And I go to meetings and I can be concerned about people. I can, be like, if they're sharing that they're having a really hard time with something, and I can have them on my radar, to keep checking in with them when I see them. I could give them a call. It's all of those things where it's opportunities to connect. The other thing for me, and I'm in a different place, but I get gratitude because I have gratitude that I'm in recovery and I have a chance, because there's a whole bunch of people that don't ever make it to a 12-step meeting or don't make it into recovery and don't have a chance at making it different. Any of us that are going to meetings and doing recovery things, it can be uncomfortable, it can be unpleasant, it can be a challenging path in the moment, but I have hope.
Well, we've got it.
Yeah, and I've got hope that it's going to be different, and I know it is. Like I tell people all the time, I wish I could wave a wand and you could see how recovery can be, because then you'd really want to, stick with it and engage with it. So, okay. So next question, my spouse had one therapy session when I went, or then I went in once. During that session, my therapist told me to file for separation, go no contact. I was told my spouse's behavior obviously means he never cared about me, and what's wrong with me for one, oh my gosh, that I want to stay with him. Really scared me. Your thoughts?
Okay, do me a favor, never see this therapist again. I don't care who they are. I don't care if I know them. Don't ever go see this therapist again. One of the most unethical things we can do is to, I think as a therapist, is to decide for someone else, based on their circumstances, what's right and wrong. It's not my job. I can ask you lots of questions about how are you coping? How are you dealing with this? How are you getting support? In staying, are you getting your needs met? I can ask you a million questions about how you're working through this, and I can have personal feelings about, oh, this poor person, they're stuck in this situation, but it's not my job to share them. And I think, and I learned this 20 years ago in doing this work, that one of the primary mistakes that therapists make when they're dealing with a profoundly betrayed spouse who, maybe they've got an STD, maybe there's been 300 prostitutes, who knows how severe the problem is. The response of the therapist is, oh, well, you must want to be out, because if I was in that situation, I would want to be out. So there must be something wrong with you for not wanting to be out. And that's a troubled therapist, because that person, first of all, my experience, most spouses in the beginning, you're not anywhere near ready to be out. You're just trying to figure out the license plate of that truck that just hit you. And you're going to need months, whether you're living together or not, to figure out what's happened, how are you going to proceed, where are you going, what does it mean, all of that. So I would never go see that person again. I would find my own support. I just really feel so. And if that's someone that your spouse is seeing regularly for healing, I would advise that they see someone else. And after 25 years of being an active therapist, we used to say back in the day, don't ever tell somebody you see another therapist. You don't want to dismiss someone's work. So if what you said is factual and that's actually what happened, go see someone else.
Yeah.
Tammy, sorry, it's not dinner time yet.
No, this was, I know this was my husband's therapist, not mine, but yeah, I wrote in the chat about codependence because that too often therapists or family members or loved ones or whatever are going, you should leave him, and what's wrong with you and all of that. There's nothing wrong with you. So please read. I also put the link to the codependence website. So okay.
Let me say something else about that. When I'm not the person who loves, when I'm not the person in the relationship, when I'm the friend, the neighbor, the mother, the sister, the pastor, it's very easy for me to stand on the outside with my happy relationship and my family life and say to you, oh, I think you should leave. I guarantee you it would be different if it was happening to them. Most people, of course, someone who cares about you wants you to avoid pain, but you need to be in some pain right now in working through a relationship that's painful. And so I just think anybody who makes quick judgments about that probably is not thinking very clearly. Let's take one more question, Tammy, and then my tummy.
I totally understand. Mine
really
too.
Hungry.
So this is a continuation of the one where my partner refuses to see as a problem, and you said pack your bags. So I forgot to mention he's a former heroin addict on Suboxone. He attends AA meetings sometimes, but does not work a program or the steps with a sponsor. We have a 1-year-old son together, so I can't just kick him out of my life completely. I've been living with my parents with the baby, but I still allow him to see the baby. He lives with his parents now, and I believe they are in denial. My question is, if he continues down this path he's on, is my son safe in his company?
Well, that's a very different question than the other one.
Yeah.
To be sexually out of control is a scary thing. You hear out of control sexual behavior, that sounds like sexual offending. And the compulsive or addictive part that those of us who have this issue deal with, it can sound, when you hear someone's got a sexual compulsion, sexual addiction, that they're lying, they're cheating, they're having an affair, you can just think, well, maybe all bets are off. Maybe they just go for children. That's not really true. It's very rare for me to run into a sex addict who's also a pedophile. And if they are, they're acting out with, child porn. And so it's very rare. Or they might be occasionally looking at an underage image. I might run into some people with child porn problems. But the concept, the idea that I have seen spouses jump to before, which is if he's sexually out of control and lying about it, then he might hurt my children. I just think that's highly unlikely, unless you've really seen some problematic behavior. I would let him be around my kids when he's high. I'll tell you that. I'd have a drug testing kit in my house, and I would make him take it every time he came over. And if he wasn't sober, I wouldn't let him play with that 1-year-old. That's for sure, because I don't know what somebody who's high is going to do, period. And a sex addict who lies and cheats and is basically just a very troubled person, but they're probably not a pedophile. Now, if you have a daughter and she's 16 and you have babysitters who are 18 coming over, I might worry about that, but not necessarily a 1-year-old, unless he's deeply disturbed. And it doesn't sound like that. Not if you got sober on heroin. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys, for whining about being hungry. Tammy, I apologize for even bringing it up.
No, it's all good. I appreciate you being
time.
here. So thank you all for all the questions and contributing tonight. We always so appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Rob. Great job.
I will see you guys, anyone interested on Friday in the rooms. And if you want to find the podcast, it's Sex, Love, and Addiction.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye for now.